Hello and welcome after the break. So, we're nearing the end of today, but I have the pleasure to announce one more moderator of another panel. And the moderator we're going to have now, Joanna Koper, is another person who brought us here together. She's actually the chief coordinator of this entire summit. So not only she's going to moderate the panel now, she actually worked tirelessly for days and days and days, trying to get everything you see in here and all the people you see in here into this place on time, to have you guys conversing with them, learning from them, and hopefully getting inspired. Now, she's not only a coordinator, she's also a manager with 8 years of experience working in business, and especially in job counseling and education. Now, her baby is actually a model of integrated development tool which allows you, specifically, to design your own career path. So if you have a chance to talk to her, please, please, please talk to her about that. She might be able to help you with designing your career. As we have heard time and again today, designing your career is one of the best approaches to getting ahead. Now, in Perspektywy, she's actually responsible for the mentoring program, for one part of it at least, and she's also a board member of Mentors for Starters, so there's plenty of experience she has regarding mentoring. Well, not a big surprise then the panel that she will actually moderate will be on mentoring.
And on the subject of mentoring, I just need to ask you, do you know what is Harry Potter's least favorite mentor? The Dementor. I am sorry. This is my last terrible joke for today. But I will see you tomorrow on the Enigma stage, and it was a pleasure to say terrible puns to you today. So
give a big hand to Joanna.
And now, please give an even bigger clap to the other Joanna, Joanna Koper, who will be with you for the next half hour.
So, where should I sit? Wherever. Okay, so thank you very much, and I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for coming, for supporting us, and I'm so happy to see so many people who are coming to this panel and who are interested in mentoring. So I hope you will learn a lot today. Let me introduce briefly our amazing panelists today, because we have today with us Grażyna Piotrowska-Oliwa, CEO of Virgin Mobile. Big applause. Możesz sobie tam gdzieś usiąść. Możesz przypierw. Then Sylvia de Weidenthal, Client Partner C at Facebook. Our next guest is Emilia Burzyńska, Chief Information Officer, Central Europe, Procter & Gamble. Another panelist is Michał Łukaszewski, Deep Learning Manager at Intel. And Aleksandra Fertzen-Grzelak, Product Manager at TomTom. Please welcome them. Jest jeszcze jeden. Macie? I just need to give a mic. Awesome. So, what I wanted to talk with you today about is the mentoring, because we have basically crème de la crème, I could say, of the mentoring programs and the mentors who are with us today. So I was wondering how we can actually structure this, because the mentoring is a topic which is totally my favorite, and we can talk about it for hours, but we have only 40 minutes, therefore we have to be really quick. So I have a pleasure to introduce you to these incredible people who will share their stories. And well, nevertheless, the mentoring, I think, is a very old it's an ancient concept, right? It's been with us for many, many years. But now it got kind of the second life, I would say. Mentoring is trending, mentoring is very popular, it's growing, which is great because at Perspektywy we are organizing mentoring programs since many years. And you will see that in a moment. But I would like to talk today actually how to make mentoring right, how to structure it, how to perform so you can learn a lot from mentoring. So first I would like to ask each of you a short question. So why are you actually a mentor? Why did you decide to be a mentor? And do you have a mentor yourself, maybe? You're a mentor here, but do you have mentors yourself? Yeah.
I can start. I personally believe mentoring is a great career development. And I leverage personally this for both traditional mentoring and reverse mentoring. And there were two triggering points in my life when why I decided to become a mentor. And let me share with them. So first one was when I graduated. I graduated the University of Technology from AGH. So greetings to all participants who are coming from that alma mater. And that was the time when I had to make a decision. What would be the company I would need to go to? And that was the time when I started leveraging my mentors who at that point of time were my family members, who I really aspiring to, who I saw they are so passionate about what they are doing. So that was the first time I leveraged that. The second turning point in my life was the time, it was 13 years after, so just recently, when I was about to make my decision about my career change path. And that was the time when I had to decide and understand what are the implications. Till now, what I was developing I was developing in particular domains of technology. And the decision I was supposed to make is to start becoming end-to-end responsible. And this is exactly the time when I leverage both external, internal people from various domains who really play the role that I am playing today and help me a lot. And this is why I am a mentor, I am mentee, I leverage reverse mentoring. And last thing, what I really would like to share, because it was really resonating with me when I heard today from Ms. Emilewicz and Ms. Mohlbacher, was what they shared, that it's not about when there is a career decision and career promotion happening for a woman, it's not because she is a woman, it's because she really deserves it, because she proved her capabilities. And this is, I think, where mentoring is really helping. It's really helping developing this career further. Thank you.
Thank you. Sylvia, do you have your mic working?
For me, mentoring has two things. One is to get a totally different perspective on what you're doing, because if you totally believe in what you're doing, you will have strengths, you will have been developing what you're really good at and what you naturally are,
Exactly.
fits you. But on the other hand, this can be your weakness, because it can lead you to some meanders that you don't see other perspectives. So a mentor would be someone who would tell you, okay, maybe there is a different perspective, maybe you need to look at this differently. And what you see is not the full picture. Mm-hmm. So that's the one role of a mentor. And the second thing would be to strengthen you when you have doubts. So if you really, really want to do something and you want to go for a job, or if you are maybe not sure that this is a job for you, and we have that very often at Facebook, that women are not really ready to ask for promotion or to apply to our jobs, then we never start any recruitment before we have at least 2 women in the panel. And that's a rule. And I'm very grateful to the company for that role, because in that way we are encouraging managers to look for broader spectrum of people to apply to Facebook. And on the other hand, we give opportunity for these women. And then the mentor is someone to make sure that these people feel included.
That's very true. I totally agree.
When there is a question, why I really want to do the mentoring, actually there are two answers. First, because I can. I can because I've got, so much experience in different sectors I enjoy, and this is the love of my life. Apart from my husband, of course, and my dog, which is telco and high-tech sector. I've got some other experiences in my life, business-wise, of course, but I can. So I can share some of my experience, some of my faults, some of my ideas with others. The second reason why I do it is that I like it a lot. It's so crazy, really, to meet. You know what I wanted to say? There would be a beep. It's so beep crazy to meet all the young people, both male and female, of course, coming from different mindsets, different worlds, asking still the same questions, looking for inspiration, looking for new ideas, and actually somebody who will tell them, don't go this way because you will never like it, and you don't even know that you don't like it. So I really like to meet new people, and I still enjoy it very much.
Do you have a mentor yourself?
Not that much. I had the bosses who were really a kind of role model for me. So I would say the best features for me, the best features I have as a manager is taken from some of these people. But I've never had a mentor. And anyway, I'm too old. Maybe I'm from the other generation. We had never had a mentor, and now I prefer to be one, actually.
Okay.
Thank you.
Michał, you're saying a bit further.
Okay, so why I became the mentor?
Yes.
It's quite simply in my case. I'm here not because I did everything myself. On some point of my life, I met right people, and they helped me.
Yeah.
Not always in the kind way. Sometimes it was the brutal.
Harsh feedback.
But that always was a help. And I think today I'm in the point when I can help next generation. And it's not only about sharing. You know, there is some quote that the best way to learn is on someone else's failures. So I'm using my experience as well as failures to show my mentees how to choose right earlier than I did.
That's a very good motivation. You know, we don't learn on anyone else's. It's good to learn on somebody else's mistakes. That's true. What about you, Ola?
Well, actually, there is a lot that I would probably sign for the previous speakers. But I think one of the most exciting things about being a mentor is that you, of course, share your learnings and experience to show somebody else how they can use your achievements or even failures to overcome their own challenges. But at the same time, you have an amazing reflection on your career. And actually, you can also look at it from different perspectives and see if you can also take another benefits from your own career. Because we are progressing very fast. We change roles, we develop ourselves. But there are some amazing things that happened in our life. And sometimes it's a good moment to take reflection on it and actually think that if someone can take a benefit of it, maybe I can also do it. So I think this is one of the powerful things. And of course, yeah, it's a huge learning opportunity. You can learn from other person, but also from your own experience.
Yeah, that's. I think everybody would agree, right? That while you're doing while you're mentoring, actually you also learn a lot yourself. You can see things from different perspectives. And that is a very good thing, because I was always thinking, when we think about mentoring as a various cases, and as you know, mentoring can work as well for people who are just about to start their careers, but it can also work very well for people who already know what they want to do, but they want to excel in something, they want to exceed. So I was wondering, given the fact that mentoring is a combine of different tools and it can be targeted and very well measured. I would like to ask you, Grażyna, actually, because you have a great mentoring experience with many different cases, both women in tech, but also, you know, our mentees for M4S are amazing people, but they are very various. There are people who already have clear mind and they know what they would like to do, and there are people who are still searching. And I personally believe that these both cases are good for mentoring, right? But how different mentoring is when we think about it, how to approach it, and how to actually work with a person who hasn't made up his or her mind yet or is very concrete.
Apart from the fact, Joanna may not agree with me, but I always have this kind of, you know, gut feeling, especially for mentors for starters, when there is really a huge bunch of people, the most crazy guys that they have in the whole bunch will be absolutely my mentees. So this is how, I never know how they do it, but Joanna and Maria Belka, I always really pass in the, I would say the best cases actually, but the most crazy ones to me, which I enjoy very much, by the way. So what I really feel that there are two differences between the people that come to you that have certain experience already. Yeah. They know what they would like to do, but they're looking for some kind of advice, how to develop, how to really get some more experience, if they should change something really to push their career faster and forward. And then we are just trying to, I would say, to fine-tune their ways of life and really how to make it happen for the new job, to make a kind of promotion or what they need. And this is, I would say, an easy part. The most difficult part is when I have a mentee which is completely not decided what to do. Unfortunately, the majority of these cases, I say unfortunately on purpose, because these are women, very undecided if they should pursue this way or the other, because they are not sure if their family would like their career, their development, their focus on career, or if they should do something else because they would really like to have a career, but there is a husband, there are children, and they don't know what to focus. And then my first question is, do you really know what you enjoy the most in your work, in your usual work day and workload? And if you don't like it, then just change it, because if you don't like your work, then you start to think about other priorities and to try to prioritize everything else but your job. And there is nothing wrong in really enjoying your career, enjoying your work life, and enjoying a decent promotion and money which is attributed to that promotion as well. So this is the worst case, because then we really have to work hard on the way of thinking, or how to change these people, and really to focus on, first, I know what I would like to do. And on the other hand, if you don't know what you would like to do, then think of something that you don't want to do, which is also helpful.
Yeah, definitely. There are ways to structure things and help.
I try really to make it as simple as possible, not to get into any kind of psychological stuff, because then it's boring. It just really try to be precise and concise and try to help, because it's easy to say, I don't like sweets. Okay, so you will never work in Wedel or whatever in Nestle, and you will never work with chocolate because you will not enjoy it. So this is it. And you know the other part, which is completely crazy guys, incredibly intelligent, focused on careers, on everything they would like to achieve. Some of them are more structured, some of them are less structured. One of them is still climbing the buildings now and making the photos on the Instagram. And he says that since he met me, he made a huge improvement, because 3 years ago, he was still doing 10 things at the same time. Now he's doing only 3, which he personally is convinced that this is a huge success. I think he's right to some extent.
Yeah, but I was wondering what you said about encouraging women. It's very important when we talk about mentoring, right? So you said that you see that some women might be like it's a good tool to encourage girls and help them out. And I wanted to actually ask you, Michał, because you're the man on the panel. How do you see it? Because you're a serial mentor, I would say, in our Perspektywy programs, New Technologies for Girls. You are always with us. You're always taking some mentees and working with them. So do you really see that girls may have the tendency to be like less self-confident, let's say? And also, how do you think and what do you think are the benefits for organization, from organizational point of view? At Intel, you're doing something that nobody else is doing. There is no such a program like New Technologies for Girls. So, and you've been there for a while, you've been there with us. So what do you think, how mentoring impacts the organization, the external mentoring, like our programs, and what do you think about the girls?
Okay, so first of all, I can agree that I'm a serial mentor. I was for 5 times first-time mentor, because each mentor program is completely different, as my mentees were different and are different. So each time is from scratch, from the beginning journey. And how it impacts on the organizations, and from my perspective, why we are doing it. In organizations like Intel, the knowledge sharing and the mentoring is the normal part of the process. We experienced developers need to learn, junior developers, not only about technical skills, because this is not so important. If you have time, you can learn everything. But there is also the kind of tribal knowledge, how to behave in that kind of organizations, big organizations, how to write an efficient email. And this is something we cannot write down in the procedure. This is something we have in heads, and we are sharing this down. We are learning, teaching in the same time, because even for mentors, for more senior developers, let's say, the process of teaching is something new quite often. There is a joke that I didn't study the IT to talk with people, and now we are forcing our senior developers to talk with people, to learn them something, and they find it very well. They engaging. If you are talking about the New Technologies for Girls program, let's say that each year we have 50 candidates for mentors, and 30% of them back to the next editions. And even if they start with us, because we have only 25 mentees each year, they, let's say, waking up, and they are starting to work inside the company and trying to help with internal programs to help the company be a better place. So
I found a very good study related to that. That actually there was a study since 80s actually that the fact that a company has mentors kind of gives them extra motivation boosts, wants them to like learn new things, and also sharing knowledge is one of the main aspects that this has. But you also wanted to say something.
Yeah, and I think building on what Michał said in terms of organization and the recent focus of the companies building the what we called multidisciplinary skills. The mentoring is just a way to go there, as we have people from different fields working together, not to mention another factor, which is the 5 different generations working together at what we are experiencing nowadays. The mentoring is just yet another tool to help to develop the organization.
But yeah.
So one more point here. I think this question is a little bit, because mentoring is a little bit about supporting people, but also letting them be their authentic self. And there is a difference between how organization can encourage authentic self in people and their skills and their strengths versus changing them into what mentors want or whoever wants. And what I think is very important and what, for example, drove me to Facebook was a couple of things that we are doing to include people, to build not only diversity, because it's very easy to come here and recruit all these amazing, talented women. The question is how many of these women in 5 years will be at middle managerial positions and how many of them will be the boards? How many of these women will sit in the boards of companies? And I met some amazing 2 women who inspired me in one of the stands. Their company has 0 women in the board. And that's very sad. And that has to stop. And I hope every single person who's in this room today, you said almost 6,000, will come out and bring another 6,000 next year and ask a question for every interviewer, how many women are on your board? And think about that. Inclusion is about how many people, women, minorities, people differently abled, stay in the company, how they develop, how many managers are taught to design for inclusion, because this is part of mentoring. How many companies are prepared today and understand bias, conscious, unconscious? How many organizations have programs for people to talk about minorities and including women in this? I hear a lot about, oh, now the world is all about women, and it's not true. It will take us many years to reach any equality, and that's where mentors need to understand today's reality.
So according to what you said, because this is very, very important thing on how to do mentoring right, actually, right? So the thing that we just say that we are running mentoring programs in one thing, but how to actually make it work. And just briefly, because I just wrote something like this: is mentoring overrated, and how to communicate it? Because mentoring, I have the feeling, is kind of a buzzword now. So how it is want to communicate, explain and implement mentoring programs so that they don't end up like in famous coaching term, which is of course very concrete and we enjoy it and it's an amazing tool, but at some point it started to function more as a meme than a particular process, you know what I mean? So more as a meme than as a method. So what are the critical factors for mentoring to work and how to actually make it work? What do you think?
So I agree with what you said about there are people who want to do something and they are focused and they know, and there are people who completely are lost. And in my experience, I had both as well. And what's really important is to try to really understand the strengths of these people. Because if they realize what they are really good at and what they enjoy doing, it's not what they are good at, but what they really enjoy doing, that's when a mentor can build a whole set of support for them. So it can be, additional training, it can be experience, it can be, getting to know people who are really good at it, because we all have, networks. We have worked for 20-something years very often in different fields and with different people. And if someone is looking for a mentor, they should really be focused on what they want to get out of it. Are they going to develop skills? Do they want to get a new job? Do they want to change their careers, perhaps? Or do they want to, improve on something or find out what they are good at? And that's when the mentor can lead that person and help them, understand these things better.
So kind of you get what you give approach, right? So
Exactly.
You have to kind of understand what are the main things that you would like to tackle and work on it. Grażyna, you wanted to add something? Oh, no.
No, we're just trying to share, which is typically, I'm just observing, sorry, it's a side remark, it's quite unusual if there were just guys, just men here, everybody would be like, trying to get, sorry Michał, it's not about you, trying to get the mic, I will never give it up, I will never give to another. And as you see, we just automatically share, it doesn't matter if we're talking about something or if.
But then, Emilia, because I was also wondering, mentoring in the era of disruptive technologies, because you're a mentor in our programs at Perspektywy, But also at your job you focus on technology. So I was wondering, most of the companies present on actually today on this summit are focusing highly on tech and IT. And how do you see the role of mentoring in this fast-changing world, especially in the fourth industrial revolution? And what are the biggest challenges you think are that companies should approach? How companies can...
Indeed, we are living in this fast-changing environment, and I can share that mentoring for me fills the gap and creates a space for informal education. And it's also building a bridge between this rapid technology evolution and perfectly complements, I think, the education program that academy gives us, and it's just a natural thing. When it comes to mentoring at P&G, what I recognize, plenty of new IT talents that are coming to our company are already coming with the deep IT knowledge understanding. So they are they're digital native. So what I am seeing where the help or the support for them is, and when mentoring can play a huge role, is providing them the context on how to operate in the organization, how they should understand the business, so that the technology or the solution they're building for the business is perfectly matching the needs of the business they are working on. Additionally, I think mentoring is also a good way, as I said before, for multidisciplinary, building the multidisciplinary forces. And I think one thing to mention to what already was said, at P&G, what we are also doing, we are having the mentoring as strategic internal part of our strategy. So it's not just a buzzword, it's a part of our culture, as you shared. And I think what is important, what we go beyond for that, we are also measuring that on a yearly basis. So we are asking each of the employee how mentoring is helping them, and do they need really a mentor? Because again, I believe there is a great bridge between what, especially for those. And also in regards to what's gained on popularity, the reverse mentoring, it's another way. And again, in the context of the multi-generation workforce that we observe today, the experienced managers are also getting a lot from the junior IT professionals. So this is just a complementary work, and this is what I observed just recently.
I just got the information that we still have time. That's good. Awesome, but I really do follow this, that in the era of disruptive technologies, when the world is changing so fast, and education is like typical education, which we know is not enough. So mentoring can be kind of fill the gap, right? Kind of work very well if you're thinking, for example, look around, you have so many people here that can be your mentors. We have the mentoring zone. So these are the things which you cannot learn at school, which you cannot learn at the university, but also the things that you can learn about yourself if you actually try to search for a mentor. But we're talking about this mentor-mentee relationship and how it works for the organizations. But I would like to talk also a bit about how it works for the relationship, so mentor-mentee relationship, because there is something we call a chemistry, right? That to have a good mentoring, you have to have a chemistry. But actually, and I would like to ask all of you, but first, Ola, I was wondering, how do you define this chemistry exactly? What is this vague chemistry that happens in the mentoring, and how to actually work on it? Because I personally do believe that it's not something that comes like this. You actually can work on it on both ways, right?
I think that actually this chemistry is similar buzzword as mentoring. It's not easy to explain it, but we talk about chemistry in context of relationship, and mentoring is a relationship between two or sometimes more people, but there need to be somebody that is mentoring, and there need to be someone that is taking the education, I would say. So there would be also a mentee. And I think that this chemistry, I would describe it as this spark that when you meet somebody and for the first time and you start a conversation, it just goes well. And you have this sense of trust. You are open with this person. You don't feel vulnerable that you share some of your personal experience, and actually you want to continue this relationship. I think this is something that sometimes you have when you meet somebody. And of course, this can happen with any relationship, but of course it's not sufficient to make a successful mentoring, because it might be just the impression, this 5 minutes or 2 seconds, a good impression that we make on someone else. So there is, of course, a lot of effort that we have to make and put into this relationship to sustain and make it a successful one. So speaking of chemistry, of course, it's one of the factors that can make your relationship successful. But in addition to that, there must be also trust. People need to trust each other to be able to talk about positive aspects of their career, but also about challenges and problems. In this context, there's also confidentiality aspect that need to be taken into account. In addition, I would like to say that it's about effort, and of course, you can start relationship very well, but if you are not engaged enough and you are not putting a lot of time into preparation, if you are not spending your actually extra personal time into planning for the meetings, into taking your homework, especially in context of mentee, then your progress might not be as expected. And that's, I think, something that also needs to be well understood, that you can have a good relationship, but if you want to make progress, you also need to give something in it. And there are some attitudes that we would say are desirable to make it work. And I think a good mentor is someone that is willing to share their experience, and especially the negative ones. I think they are the most powerful learning opportunity. I think it's always good to talk about good things that happen, but anyone can tell about good things. But you really need to be courageous and open to talk about failures, because they happen to anyone, and I think they can be very beneficial, like it was mentioned here earlier, right? It's easier to learn from someone else's mistakes. And they will not stop us from making our own, but they will give us some good background to understand how to avoid them. And speaking of mentee, of course, they should be accountable and responsible, because in fact, we are talking about their career. So they need to also be open for feedback, especially the constructive one. So I think these are the main factors that need to contribute to those conditions of chemistry.
Well, but did you have any of you situation in which you started a mentoring and at first you thought, okay, there will be no chemistry at all, and actually it turned out well? Did you have this situation like that?
So maybe not the chemistry per se, but yes, I do have the feeling. I just second year with the addition of IT for She mentoring program, and what I learned a lot is that we shouldn't be afraid for experiencing and sharing with others that are coming from totally different world, that are coming from totally different backgrounds, experiences, and yes, the one before the last year mentorship I had was we were starting, and I realized, oh my God, I was thinking, how can I help? We are so different, but at the same time, what I benefited a lot, and this is what I gained personally from the mentorship, I was able to really understand this different point of view. I was able to not only hopefully help the person, and greetings to the lady, but at the beginning it was terrifying, yeah? So whether we will really connect, but again, the learning is don't give up after the first fear. And I think this is what we heard today with the other mentors. What I really liked from the session we were participating in the morning, a lot of mentors share about their failures. But maybe not failures in regards to we didn't manage, but again, what they learned from that, how powerful was that? Because not always can be this chemistry at all the point of time, or at the beginning you might not see the contacting point, yeah? But it's so powerful, don't give up at the first failure or the differences.
That's very encouraging and very important what you're saying.
I would like to add to what Emilia said, that actually mentoring is a process. And I think that there is always space for improvements. And I think it's very important that sometimes there might be no chemistry at all, but you still can make it successful. Or there could be a chemistry, but it might just drift away. So I think there should be a moment in time or a checkpoint in your relationship with an existing one, to reflect on what's going well, what doesn't go so well, and try to see together if you can improve it. And maybe in some cases, it's a good moment to say that it's not going well, and it's also fine, right? We learn with experience. So I would strongly suggest it to everyone, not to give up, indeed, but try to learn also from it, because becoming a mentor or mentee, it's also a learning for us.
My experience has been always with IT4C or Lean in STEM to choose someone who is totally different than you. And I get a lot of energy from it. Personally, I get a lot of energy from other people. And why I think this difference is very important. First of all, it's about the vulnerability of each party. So each one has to open up. And it turns out that because we think totally different, because we have completely different perspective, we can really dissolve and resolve any complex problem. If we choose someone like us, we will all think the same. And that's powerful, and that's where we should think bold. And like Georgette Mosbacher said here before, going for it means being bold and not being afraid. And that's very difficult, because it's going outside your comfort zone, and it's about being, going in the unknown. And that comes very often with lots of failures. But in our business, if we don't fail ourselves, we will have a competitor who will fail us. And it's much better to fail ourselves.
This is the safest way. Like, mentoring is such a safe zone that it's so good to experiment, and people can feel. It's sometimes good to be in a comfort zone in mentoring in this sense, right? Because they can actually show who they are and mentor as well.
And what experiences, I think, shares is like, despite the fact this is, you are really outside your comfort zone, but this is the best way to learn. Yes. So this is really triggering.
Totally. Okay, so we are talking about learning. We are sharing some stories, but since we don't have that much time left, I would like to finish this with sharing is caring session. So I would like you now to share some of your stories from the mentoring. So I know what happens in mentoring stays in mentoring. That's the first rule of good mentoring. So I don't ask you for too many details, but maybe you can share some stories or tips. So you can share your epic success or epic failure as a mentor or mentee. So it may be surprising, maybe something unorthodox, interesting, or the lessons learned. So if you were to give an advice to mentors and mentees that are now listening to our panel, what would you say? So,
very briefly, be authentic, be yourself. Be open for new point of views.
Choose your mentor wisely, because this is your choice and you opt for the mentor. Personally, I always read why a specific person wants to work with me. So it's your choice. Then it's a mentor's choice, of course, when there is a big selection. But choose your mentor wisely, because then it proves that you know, anyway, something you would like to improve on or to change.
Okay.
I could also say that it's also important that at the beginning of relationship, it should be communicated what each of the mentor and mentee are expecting from this specific point in time. Because if it's not communicated, it might be actually a lot of disappointment for one or the other person. So I think this is also very important.
Okay, so I see we are time's up, but maybe last few words. And this is not my words, because I don't feel the smart enough to advise you anything, but if you're thinking about to be a mentor at some point of your life, please remember something that someone smarter than me said sometime, and let it be the goal for all mentors, maybe. So let me use the words of Master Yoda. Pass on what you have learned, strength, mastery, but weakness, folly, failure also. Yeah, failure most of all. The greatest teacher failure is. Look, we are what they grow beyond. That is the true burden of all masters.
And from my advice would be to write your vision. So if you write your vision, what would you tell yourself back, if you were in 2020, sitting at a dinner table for Christmas? What is it that you wanted to achieve? And read it in the tense that you have done it already. And then work out to the back what you need to do and what type of mentoring you need to get to that point. And believe me, if you write that in the past tense, everything changes. You are already 90% there. So think who will be your mentor to get you to that point.
Guys, so I think these were the great remarks. I would like to end with a quote I found. A mentor is not someone who walks ahead of you to show you how they did it. A mentor walks alongside you to show you what you can do. So with all these stories and all this final quote, I would like to thank very much to our panelists for sharing. And you're now about to hear and listen a bit more about mentoring programs. So please stay and see what we do to support women in tech. Thank you very much.
Thank you.